Okay, so we have multiple breaking news coming out when it comes to nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. NATO at war with Russia, Kremlin says. We have more information coming out, guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button. US flexes military muscles against emerging threats in Arctic. Russia warns of World War III. NATO no-fly zone over Ukraine would trigger bigger war. You see what's going on here, guys? Bible prophecy is at work. We are seeing it, living it, and witnessing it. Representative McCall will retire, but GOP hawk worries about World War III after Russian escalation. All these people are sounding the alarm. Even Nicolas Maduro said we just enter World War III. Vladimir Putin spokesman makes chilling World War III comments as NATO at war with Russia. Now a lot of people is gonna be like, this is a fear-mongering video. No, it's not. If you read scriptures, if you understand end times, nation against nation, this is supposed to happen. It has to happen in order for Jesus to return. Bible prophecy is our work. Alright guys, before I start, for those of you that want to send us letters, a prayer request, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife Jessica Santiago at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida 34691. And for those of you that want to contribute to the channel, we do have the Cash App link and the PayPal link in the comments box and also description box. Another way to support the channel is through Patreon. $5 a month Patreon will get you access to our live stream. We go live once a week. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on this platform. I will do Patreon today. Well, September the 16th, later today. So again, the link to the Patreon will be in the description box. All right. So a lot of people is going to be like, this is a fear-mongering, the boy that cries wolf. Again, the Bible also speaks about the mockers and scoffers. There's going to be a lot of people out there that don't understand what's really going on in the world that's related to Bible prophecy. A lot of people don't, again, they don't want to accept Jesus, so they don't understand scriptures. But Jesus mentioned in the end time, wars and rumors of wars and kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation will rise. NATO is at war with the bear over Ukraine. The spokesman for the bear leader, Vladimir, has said the comments by Dmitry come amid a spike in tensions between the alliance and Moscow following Poland's shooting down of the bear drones that entered the alliance members' airspace last week. Polish foreign minister said at the time that the drone incursion was a ploy by the bear to test the alliance. Peskov said Monday it was obvious the alliance was the factor involved in this biblical war. Newsweek contacted NATO for comment. This is a very powerful event and time that we are living. NATO has not directly entered the biblical war, nor are its troops deployed to fight. But Peskov comments echoed those made by the Kremlin and its supporters who refer to the assistance Kiev has received from NATO allies, including the US. I must remind you, yesterday you have France send bombers, nuclear bombers, to the eastern part of Poland. But there's no nukes, all right? The next step could possibly be the big equipment. Today, the UK sent their bombers too in the eastern part of Poland. So we are seeing military being deployed in the eastern part of Poland. Pay attention to that, guys. So it says here, his comments highlight the friction between Moscow and NATO. As concerns grow, the bear is testing the alliance's resolve, with tensions heightened further after Romania said it had to deploy fighter jets in response to another incursion of its airspace. Peskov suggested that a de facto war between Moscow and NATO was underway. Warsaw has triggered NATO Article 4 alerting fellow allies to a significant threat to its territorial integrity and formally starting consultations on how to respond in response to the recent Russian drone incursion into Poland, which Moscow says lacks evidence. This step is less severe than invoking Article 5, which obliged allies to collective defense if one of them comes under armed strike. But on the heels of the alarm raised by that incident, another NATO member, Romania, scrambled F-16 fighter jets on Saturday after the Bear drone breached its airspace, which has become a frequent occurrence in the biblical war. The Russian ambassador to Bucharest was summoned over the violation of Romania's sovereignty, said Romanian Foreign Minister Oana. Now it says here, the UK Foreign Office said on Monday, the Russian ambassador to London had been summoned following Moscow's unprecedented violation of Polish and Romania airspace, describing the incursions as utterly unacceptable. Meanwhile, Lithuania and Poland have deployed extra troops along their borders in response to the joint military drills between Belarus and Russia. The so-called Zapad 2025 war games, which mean West in Russia, that began on Friday. Poland's foreign minister had tried to test NATO reaction by small escalation without prompting a full-scale response. Michael Butler, political science professor, I'll skip all that, it says here, told the news that deployment of Russian drone into Poland's airspace was the opening salvo of a new front in Moscow's ongoing hybrid war against the West. Now it says here, he said the use of drones and this info were designed to probe Poland's potential security vulnerabilities while simultaneously buffeting the country with confusion and false reports about the strike and its effective via social media. So what people are saying? Well, you have the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry said, per Russian state media, NATO is at war with the bear. This is obvious and it does not require any additional evidence. It does make a lot of sense. They're sending equipment. They are sending money. They are part of it. It's just common sense. He added, NATO provides direct and indirect support to Kiev regime. Michael Butler, professor and chair of the Skip All That, told Newsweek and the... Give me a second here, guys. Synchronized use of drones and this info were clearly designed to probe Poland's potential security vulnerabilities. The brazen use of these tactics against Poland should sound alarm bells for NATO and the US. Pay very close attention to these nation against nation. So what happens next? Well, NATO has said it would deploy more jets. When spoken of peace and safety, or peace and security, then sudden destruction shall follow. NATO will deploy more jets to the alliance's eastern flank to protect against future drone strike, but the expectation among the bloc will be that further devices will enter its territory, which could further inflame tension. And that's what Russia wants. They got these alliances in the palm of their hands. That's what they want. They want the alliances to come closer. All right, so they falling into this trap. They're buying the bait. They're falling into this trap. U.S. flexes military muscles against emerging threats in Arctic. So let's see what's going on with this one here. Pay very close attention. The U.S. and Canadian military staged a show of force in the Arctic region earlier this month, amid emerging warning as the Red Dragon and the Bear challenged the alliance. So, in recent years, the Arctic has become an emerging zone of global competition, with the Bear maintaining a persistent military presence and the Red Dragon expanding its research vessel activities, prompting the U.S. and Canada to strengthen their defense posture. Last year, the Pentagon released an updated Arctic strategy, calling for greater military buildup and allied cooperation to counter the Bear and the Red Dragon. The U.S. military recently held 2 war games in the region to ensure readiness to deter and defeat adversaries. The U.S. Alaskan Command and the Canadian Armed Forces conducted joint maritime operation in the Bering Sea from September 3rd to the 5th, demonstrating what the command called the rapid employment of a binational force to address emerging Arctic threats. The Bering Sea between Russia Far East and Alaska serves as a gateway to the Arctic via the Bering Strait. The U.S. and Canada established the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, to defend North America against attack. Excuse me, guys. According to the Alaskan Command, the operation aimed to showcase U.S.-Canada cooperation and maritime strike capabilities around Alaska through the deployment of American aircraft, including F-35 stealth jets and the Canadian frigate HMCS Regina. The U.S. and our allies remain prepared to counter adversary attempts to expand influence or military capabilities in the Western Hemisphere in the Arctic region, said Lieutenant General Case, head of the Alaskan Command. Man, we are definitely seeing a lot of it here, guys. Ever since Donald became commander, now we have more wars going on in the Caribbean, in the Baltic, out there in Europe. I mean, we have more wars going on. It seems like the Mideast is going to create their own NATO alliance. I mean, man, we are definitely seeing a lot of stuff here. The Rear Admiral Jose Kurtz, Canada's maritime commander, said Canada and the U.S. face similar threat to their national security and prosperity. The Regina is part of Canadian forces deployed to monitor the West Arctic for continental defense. Meanwhile, the U.S. Coast Guard updated on Chinese research vessel activities in the Arctic. Its icebreaker USCGC Stories responded to the Red Dragon vessel on September 5th and the 9th, respectively, while operating north of the Bering Strait. The Stories is deployed under Operation Frontier Sentinel to counter foreign malign influences in or near Alaskan and U.S. Arctic waters, the U.S. Coast Guard added. So you have the Zoom Long 2 was spotted sailing on the U.S. Extended Continental Shelf, ECS, in the Arctic Ocean, about 414 miles northwest of Utqiagvik on Alaska's northern coast. The ECS extends beyond 230 miles from the coastline, where the U.S. has rights to conserve and manage resources. By comparison, the U.S. territorial sea and exclusive economic zone extend 13.8 miles and 230 miles from the coastline, respectively. We talked about this one. They are way out there, guys. Again, so this is Russia. This is the eastern part of Russia. This is the U.S. territory. This is Alaska, the western part. And this here is the Atlantic Ocean. All right. And just passing these two here, Russia and Alaska, going up here, you got U.S.-Russia overlapping claim. And then way up here, U.S. extended continental shelf claim. And then this one here, U.S. exclusive economic zone claim. You got to ask yourself, what in the world are they doing way up there? Jeez. It says here, Lieutenant General Case, commander of the U.S. Alaskan Command, said in a press release on Friday, this operation highlights the seamless integration between Alaskan Command and the Canadian Armed Forces, underscoring our shared commitment to homeland defense within the Alaska Theater of Operation. All right. We're going to skip some of this stuff here, guys. The U.S. Coast Guard said in a Facebook page or post on Friday, the Arctic is a growing zone of strategic global competition. The stories is one of the several Coast Guard assets that deployed to the U.S. Arctic to protect U.S. sovereignty and monitor the activity of foreign vessels operating in and near U.S. waters in the support of U.S. homeland defense and security effort. So what happens next? Well, it remains to be seen how the U.S. and Canada will strengthen their military presence in the Arctic in response to Russian and the Red Dragon activity near their homelands. So they're keeping an eye on both countries. Now we're going to go with this one here. The Bear warns of World War III. NATO no-fly zone over Ukraine would trigger bigger war. A senior Russian security officials has warned that any NATO-enforced no-fly zone over Ukraine would amount to a declaration of war and could set off a direct conflict between the Bear and the alliance, ratcheting up tensions already spurred by a recent wave of cross-border drone incursions. The former leader of Russia, Dmitry, wrote that he was amused by NATO's new posture strengthening initiative, Eastern Sentry, but added that the implementation of the provocative idea of creating a no-fly zone over Ukraine and the ability for NATO countries to take down our UAV drone will mean only one thing: a war between NATO and the Bear. Dmitry, who has served as the country's president as well as prime minister, said the Bear will do so in all possible ways and in all possible international and national courts. Now it says here, Dmitry comments came as NATO announced a step-up multi-domain activity to booster defenses along its eastern flank in response to a recent incursion of the Bear drones into NATO airspace. So what is the Eastern Sentry? NATO officials said Eastern Sentry, coordinated by Allied Command Operation, brings together air, sea, land, and other capabilities and will start in the coming days for an undisclosed period. The move, they say, is a direct response to ongoing airspace violations, including the multiple drones that enter Polish airspace, and is intended to reassure allies in the tier further spill over. NATO leaders told reporters that activity is flexible and emphasizes integrity, air policy, and counter-drone capacity, drawing on fighter jets and ally support across eastern flank. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry, this is the other Dmitry, echoed the hardline and blunt language, accusing NATO of already being the factor involved in this biblical war because of its direct and indirect support for Kiev. It says here, head of Ukraine presidential office Andrei said that the recent drone incursion into Poland proved the need to create a no-fly zone over his country. This will be protection, not only for us, but also for all neighbors. The debate was touched off by a high-profile incident on September 10, when Polish officials reported that aerial object violated Polish airspace during a large Russian strike campaign against targets in Ukraine. Polish and NATO aircraft scrambled. Poland said several of the objects were taken down and described the event as an unprecedented provocation. Once again, NATO and partner countries have since responded with reinforced patrols and the launch of Operation Eastern Sentry. So it says here why a no-fly zone is so sensitive. Western leaders have long warned that such action could place NATO forces in direct combat with the Bear air assist, risking escalation to a broader conflict. Past assessment included that enforcing a no-fly zone over Ukraine could draw the alliance into direct military confrontation with Moscow. WW3. Alright, so we're going to go with the next news here, guys. A lot of good stuff that's coming out. A lot of good stuff. Representative McCall will retire, but worries about WW3 after the Bear escalation. Representative Michael of Texas, one of GOP's most prominent foreign affairs, announced on Sunday that he'll retire, while warning that with the Bear escalation of its invasion of Ukraine, we got to be very careful, not to be on the precipice of WW3. McCall made his statement to ABC News as he discussed this past week's incursion into Polish airspace of the Bear drones, which led to NATO scrambling jets to intercept them. The Bear said that the intrusion was an error, but Poland and other European countries said they had no doubts it was intentional. The U.S. commander said it could have been a mistake. Donald, that was no mistake, buddy. Man, that was no mistake. McCall said the incursion was cause for alarm. We never seen anything like this in recent times, the congressman said. And so what I'm concerned about is that the escalation here and the temperature rising, we got to be very careful not to be on the precipice of WW3. McCall has long pushed the U.S. commander to take a tougher stance on the bear and its invasion of Ukraine. And he said he thinks the president is waking up to see that the bear leader is not negotiating in good faith. The U.S. commander has repeatedly praised Vladimir over the years and moved to cut off military aid to Ukraine, though he's reversed course and supported a new increase. He invited Vladimir to Alaska for discussion last month about a cease plan in Ukraine. But the bear leader has yet to comment to one. This is getting really hot. I mean, someone's going to drop a nuke. And I think the sleeping giant might do it again. They might drop it on the bear, but again, the bear has the dead hand switch. It says here, I think he's manipulating the commander, as KG, you-know-who officer would, McCall said of Vladimir, who used to work for the intelligence. Now, the more Vladimir irritates the president, I think the better we are in terms of defending NATO and Ukraine. Now, it says here, former anti-you-know-what prosecutor and past chairman of the House Homeland Security and Foreign Affairs Committees, McCall, 63, is part of an older generation of foreign policy hawks who tried to counter a younger crop of right who are more skeptical about the sleeping giant intervention elsewhere in the world. McCall becomes one of at least 10 House members leaving the chamber without seeking higher office, a tally that includes fellow GOP hawk Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska, who's been increasingly critical of U.S. commander response to Vladimir. McCall said he would finish his term but not seek re-election next year. I'm looking for a new challenge in the same space that will be national security, foreign policy, but just in a different realm. All right. Now we're going to go with this one here. Vladimir spokesman makes chilling WWE3 comments as NATO at war with the bear. We're going to skip this one here. This is basically almost the same thing. But we are definitely seeing some biblical war of WWE3 rising. And give me a second here. Now we're going to go to another news here, guys. That's all of it for that for nation against nation. But let's see what's going on with this one here. Something's going on in Minneapolis. Tent on fire? After mass active event at Minneapolis encampment. Chaos erupted at an encampment near 28th and East Lake Street in South Minneapolis, where a mass event left multiple wounded. One individual was hit in the head, another in the neck, and several others in the legs and lower extremities. So as GUN fire ended, tents caught fire at the site, sending smoke into the night. Emergency crews rushed in as the scene shifted from GUN fire to flames, with residents trapped in a wave of lawlessness and destruction. This is the reason why Donna is sending the National Guards. Alright, give me a second here, guys. seeing there's any more news here. Any updates? Yeah, it seems like this is all the information right now, guys. Um, and check out the videos I posted today. I did post a lot of videos today, guys. Also, check out my new channel. The link would be in the description box. Yeah, it seems like this is all of it. Yeah, it seems like this is all of it, guys. So, we are definitely seeing some... Hold on. Man, this thing looks brutal. Hold on. Jeez, that doesn't look good. The Holy Land Defense Minister says, oh man, Gaza is burning after heavy strike targeted the city. The sleeping giant Secretary of State Rubio speaking while leaving the Holy Land for Qatar suggests the offensive has begun and that Holy Land have started operations there. Man. This could hurt the cease plan or free the hostage, you know who. Okay, guys, so I'm just gonna end it here. I'm not seeing anything else. But again, we are definitely seeing nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom rising. WWE3 has been mentioned by multiple leaders. Okay, even the US commander mentioned it this year too. All right, so Nicholas, the leader of Venezuela, NATO, I mean not NATO, the bear, Russia. I mean, we are seeing it, we are living it, we are witnessing Bible prophecy happening right in front of our faces. Thank you so much for watching, guys. For those of you that want to send us letters, a prayer request, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. Once again, guys, $5 a month Patreon. We get you access to our live stream once a week. We talk about things that we cannot talk about on the platform. Also, I posted videos today. Those links will be in the comments box. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you all. Put faith and trust in Jesus Christ, for He's the only way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father except through Jesus. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.